Today on Beloved Women.
If you need the strength to get out of a pit you've dug for yourself or victory to win an overwhelming battle you never even asked for, you need to strengthen yourself in the Lord by talking to yourself about who God is, not how bad your circumstance is.
Today's video is brought to you by The Beloved Boutique, an online shop for Christian women to find the resources they need to consistently make time for God. Our journals, planners, Bible studies, and more are designed to help you connect with God in simple, practical, and meaningful ways. Start shopping now at thebelovedboutique.com.
The next thing David did was he talked himself into the right decision. David got into this whole situation that left him distressed with his camp being ambushed and his wives and children held captive, because he talked himself into it. As I told you, David was running from Saul, but God did not tell him to run to Philistine. So why was he here? After becoming discouraged because of Saul's attacks on his life, David started to talk to himself. We read about it in 1 Samuel 27:1 that says, "Then David said in his heart, 'Now I shall perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will despair of seeking me any longer within the borders of Israel, and I shall escape out of his hand.'" Listen, there is nothing wrong with David talking to himself. The problem is what he is saying to himself. First, he convinces himself that Saul is going to kill him. Now, his circumstance would lead one to believe that that was true, as Saul had made several attempts on David's life. But God had already anointed David to be the next king of Israel. So David had to choose to believe God would keep his word, which wouldn't happen if David was killed by the hands of Saul, or he could believe the threats of Saul. He chose the latter. He believed the lie, and he found himself in a situation he could have avoided had he strengthened himself in the Lord and stood his ground. He talked himself into the wrong decision. As much as I believe he talked himself into the wrong decision in chapter 27, I also believe he talked himself into the right decision in chapter 30. If you need the strength to get out of a pit you've dug for yourself or victory to win an overwhelming battle you never even asked for, you need to strengthen yourself in the Lord by talking to yourself about who God is, not how bad your circumstance is. Talk to yourself and convince yourself why you should trust God. Don't wait until you feel like trusting God. Don't wait for the perfect sermon on a Sunday or an encouraging text from a friend. Encourage yourself in the Lord. At this moment, David had nothing but God, and he convinced himself that God was enough, and it was then, even in the midst of utter despair, that he found the strength to get up and carry on. The last way David strengthened himself in the Lord was that he walked with God. The verse doesn't simply say David strengthened himself in the Lord, period. It doesn't end there. It says he strengthened himself in the Lord, his God. David knew the Lord personally, and even though he wasn't where he was supposed to be, he knew his God, and he knew he could always turn to him, whether he was in sin, despair, or prosperity. Strengthening ourselves in the Lord is not a single occurrence. It's consistently seeking the Lord as our source every single day. If you want to strengthen a muscle, you don't work it out one time and then expect it to be its optimal strength or think it's going to stay strong if you never work it out again. If you want your muscle to be strong, you work it out over and over again. If we want to strengthen ourselves in the Lord, we make seeking the Lord and relying on Him for strength a daily habit. As a recap, here are the 4 ways we strengthen ourselves in the Lord. 1, we look to God and not our circumstance. 2, we have the right perspective of who our God is and what He is capable of doing. 3, we talk ourselves into the right decision. And 4, we walk with God daily. Now that we know how to strengthen ourselves in the Lord, next session we'll learn how to use our weapons. So don't stop here, because remember, being strengthened in the Lord with no weapons is like having a gun that you do not know how to aim. So join me next session to learn how to strategically use the power that God has given you.
Thank you so much for watching Beloved Women with me, Christina Patterson. Stay tuned for a sneak peek at next week's video. For even more encouragement from beloved women, including daily devotionals, practical advice for everyday Christian living, Bible studies, and more, be sure to download the Beloved Women app, available for free in the Apple and Google Play stores. Today's video is brought to you by the Beloved Collective, a membership site for Christian women providing guided video Bible studies, printable study guides, and online community to help you connect with God in simple, practical, and meaningful ways. Join today at mybelovedcollective.com. Now enjoy your sneak peek at next week's video.
Now it's time to put on the full armor of God. The first piece of armor that Paul describes is the belt of truth. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth. Although this is the first piece of armor described by Paul, it is actually the last piece a soldier would put on. See, the belt of the armor is what holds all the other armor together and keeps it on the soldier. If the belt is not on and properly fitted, all the other armor will quickly and easily fall off in battle, and the enemy knows this.